Welcome to the Theory of Nothing podcast. I'm your co-host, Brian Wiora.
I'm your co-host, Chris Keene.
And we're back for our second episode, Chris.
Oh, yeah, we're killing it.
How does it feel?
That's two more episodes than most people do.
That's true.
Or at least one more episode. It's usually one and done for podcasts.
That's right. Or it's just like a couple people sitting at a bar thinking, oh, I could do a podcast. And then they never do.
I just jinxed it. Now, this is going to be the last episode of this podcast.
I don't think so. I really think we're going to do it here. For those of you that tuned into our last episode, thank you. We just crossed 10 million views on that.
Oh, yeah. They're all from Nick Dervosla.
That's
just
right.
One
just
guy.
on loop.
10 million times.
On repeat.
Yeah.
We still do not have a sponsor for this podcast.
No, but we have ideas.
I'd love for it to be Jack in the Box. I'm drinking the largest Jack in the Box drink they have available.
Now, is that a West Coast chain? Because I don't remember that as a
No,
kid.
they have them all across the country, Chris.
I don't know why I don't remember it. I grew up in Boston. I don't remember it.
Well, anyways, when inevitably the CEO of Jack in the Box listens to this podcast, he hopefully, or she will hopefully, or they will hopefully
So progressive.
sponsor us. We've been listening to your comments on Instagram, on our YouTube page. We appreciate your listens on both YouTube and Spotify. A couple of notes about the pod that we've heard and we will take into consideration here for this and future episodes. Number one is they felt like the conversation was dominated by me.
I didn't feel that way. I enjoy listening to you, Brian.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. One criticism we got was we need more leather jackets, they said.
More
enough.
leather jackets and less Brian, I think was... I think
You're the only one that thinks there needs to be less Brian.
No. I do want this to be more of a conversation, though, today.
Yeah, I'll talk more or try.
I appreciate that. I'm going to ask you some questions as well. I think I need to do a better job of that. But if you all have other thoughts, comments, questions, considerations... please drop them on Instagram at the Theory of Nothing podcast. That's our username on our YouTube page, Theory of Nothing podcast.
And I guess we'll be on TikTok too.
And we want to start a TikTok as well.
And it's on Spotify.
To get more Gen Z views? Is that the idea of the TikTok?
I don't know if they're going to like us. Maybe. Are you No, you're not Gen Z, are you?
No, I'm
okay.
Fully millennial.
Okay.
Fully. I think it's because I remember 9/11.
Oh.
That's the marker.
So you were wow.
But that's kind of a funny marker because that means really everyone's a millennial. You're a millennial. Baby boomer's a millennial.
I think technically I am a millennial, an old millennial.
Yeah, geriatric millennial, I think is what they call that.
Yeah. Zennial is what I've heard.
Okay.
It's like Gen X and millennial.
Right.
There's like this borderline.
Got it. Do you have any... See, I'm trying to talk less. Do you have anything you want to say before we start the podcast today?
I don't have much to say. I don't really know why I'm podcasting. I like being alone and quiet.
Well,
wow. See, this is why you do the talking.
I don't know. I really have no idea how to respond to that. It's also funny because you get up on stage every night.
Yeah, that's fine. But like talking like a normal person like this, super uncomfortable.
Is this how normal people talk with microphones and studios?
Nowadays, this is how normal people talk now. Yeah, no one talks in real life anymore.
That's observational humor. That's what you get if you listen to Chris Keene. Is observational comedy.
I'm glad we turned that around. At first, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to have to cut this from the podcast."
No, we don't cut anything.
That's true. It's all real.
This is, we could live stream something at some point.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah, that would be cool. Do you want to say what the title of this episode is or whatever?
So today, episode 2 is The Theory of Los Angeles.
Yes.
And part of the reason I think we wanted to do this was because we are recording this now at the end of January of 2025. In the middle of January of 2025, there were devastating and quite large forest fires that permeated through Los Angeles and the surrounding areas, particularly the Palisades, Altadena, Pasadena, There were even fires on Sunset Boulevard. We should note that all of the proceeds of this podcast will be donated to the fires. That's the good news. The bad news is we currently have no proceeds.
Oh yeah.
For this podcast.
Yeah.
Unless Jack in the Box listens to us.
You know, if Jack in the Box cared at all about America and Los Angeles, they'd be supporting us.
They'd be donating to us, and then we'd subsequently take that money and donate it to the fires.
Yes. Well, some of it.
A portion of the
Brian
proceeds.
might need a new burgundy sweater, you know?
If it's on sale. If it's on sale, you got mad at me the other day for buying something. I'm like, I'm losing money if I don't buy this thing.
Wait, what did you buy?
I bought some pillows.
Was I there when that happened?
I don't know, but I called you.
Oh.
They were like 80% off pillows.
Okay.
Anyway.
I probably need a new pillow.
Yeah.
I got one pillow. That's all you need.
Really?
You looked,
one pillow?
You looked so concerned when I said that.
How do you sleep? Like
just one pillow?
Yeah. This, by the way, is the theory of Los Angeles. This is related. We'll get there.
Okay.
No, I want to hear about the pillow thing, though.
Yeah, it's not good, man. My apartment is, I think I said this, like someone asked me if I had 20 minutes to save something from my apartment from the fires, what would I save? And I realized I could grab everything in my apartment in that time. you know, like there's nothing, I just don't own much stuff.
Yeah.
For some reason, it doesn't bother me. I don't know. Some people, I should probably want more things, but what am I gonna do with all that stuff? I don't.
Do you consider yourself a minimalist?
I was gonna say that. Like, I don't know. Maybe because I don't like desire things. So some people. Now it sounds like this is some kind of like humble brag or something. But no, it's just something I've realized that I don't think about it much. Like,
yeah.
But I need to because, obviously you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Financially and stuff, which I do. But, yeah, I never had a huge drive to make a ton of money and have all these things. I don't know why.
Well, you chose the wrong career for that because podcasting, we're about to make millions of dollars doing this.
Do you think should we get to Los Angeles? And this
Sure.
actually kind of relates.
I think
right?
this does relate. No. I
Yeah.
want to take this thread and move it.
Well,
on.
because a lot of people come here to be famous, get rich and famous, or something.
Right.
Or, yeah. Did you have something you wanted to say, or do you want me to start it?
I think you should, per our requests, to have you talk more, Chris.
Oh,
I want you to start
They're
this. Yes.
flooding in. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. See, this is why you do the talking. No, yeah. I don't know. It's weird. I always wanted to be successful as in a creative field, but that was just because for the creative part of it. Like I never desired things or having a huge house or car. Like it almost feels wasteful to me.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people come here to do that. I don't know. I was thinking about a lot of things with this. Like most people I meet in LA, I think, are not from LA.
Sure.
The majority of them.
Yeah.
And
that's to interject here. Like that's true of a lot of major cities, right? Like that's true of New York. It's true of LA. That's true of London and Paris and a lot of those places too.
Maybe it is. I would say it doesn't feel like it's true of Boston, but it is because there's a lot of it's a huge college town.
We
so
said
I
major
guess.
Cities, Chris.
What about is Dallas a major city?
Yeah, well, but
Wait, how is Dallas a major city? But
no,
Boston
I'm just kidding. I mean, Boston's obviously bigger and more historic than Dallas is. I used to call
they're probably on par with each other.
I used to call Dallas a plastic city because, and I think I still do, because it was like basically there was all this oil money that came into Texas in the 20th century, and then Dallas just kind of became a hub for it. And so like in the 1960s, Dallas was still very rural, and then by the 1980s, it's incredibly urban.
Okay.
And so it just kind of built itself. If you go to Dallas, you would think it has all this history behind it, and it kind of does, but it's not Boston. Boston has hundreds of years of history, and like you can find bricks in Boston that are older than the founding of the country.
Very few people in Boston care about any of that.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about any of that stuff.
Uh-huh.
This is just, if you're not playing on one of our sports teams, we don't care about you.
Sure.
That's all it's all that, the Freedom Trail and all that shit. No one, that's for like tourists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway, we're supposed to be talking about Los Angeles.
But
not
we are talking about Los Angeles.
Okay, all right.
Here's how I think we are. I think that you pointed this out, that people come here possibly, one theory of why people come to Los Angeles is to collect things, whether those are tangible things or intangible things.
Uh-huh.
What do you think about that?
That's true. A big one, and I hope I'm not totally changing the subject of what you just said, I think is like reinventing yourself.
Oh, I'm glad okay, this was in my notes too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people come here for that reason. A lot of people, let's stand-ups talk about this, but other people, they'll complain. I do this. You complain about your hometown.
Right.
It's people that like didn't fit in where they were, so they come here. And maybe that's why there's so many freaks in Los Angeles, because it's just a bunch of the weirdos from the normal towns.
Right.
They all come here to be weird. But I was thinking about this for me personally recently, which is that like Boston has like this very meathead, like jock vibe to it with the sports and all that and the tough guy bullshit. And they never appreciate, I was like, oh, they just don't appreciate like art and sensitivity and like,
The soul.
pussy stuff like I am, right?
Okay.
Well, little gay. But, sorry. 90s gay, not the other one. So then I move here. Are you glad you let me talk on the podcast, Brian?
No, you're doing great.
Then I move here, right? And I'm like, everyone's a fucking pussy. Like now I'm do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Now I'm like, look at these fucking pussies. Like, man up. Like,
that's
it dropped below 50 degrees.
Right.
And you're crying. Like, and so now I'm the bully tough guy asshole somehow.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Well, I think, but I think actually, this gets, as comedians, I feel like we're just naturally contrarians.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like this, and maybe part of that is a chicken or egg thing. Like, did you become an asshole because you were treated like one as a kid and that just taught you how to do it? Or are you just naturally this way? So you were actively looking for ways to not fit in.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. I've talked about that before. I've spent my whole life in like blue cities,
Mm-hmm.
like very like, so I'm surrounded by like a lot of liberal people or woke people. And, so naturally, I get aggravated with that, even though I still feel like I'm a liberal person, but I get aggravated with that and I'll make fun of that. Right.
Sure.
I don't have as much experience. I wonder if I lived in a deep red state and I was surrounded with that, I'd be more inclined to be like, oh, you guys are fucking annoying.
You'd be raising the pride flag. You'd be.
I think I would.
You'd have a BLM sign in your front yard.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you're just a contrarian, I guess. I don't know.
No, I don't.
But actually, hold on. I want to go back to your point about reinventing yourself with Los Angeles, because this is something I've discovered about Los Angeles too. That a lot of people come here to reinvent themselves. For those of you that didn't listen to our last podcast, Chris and I both talked about how we moved to Los Angeles kind of to reinvent ourselves in our own life. Yeah. I moved here literally to reinvent my life because came here for rehab, right? So to become sober, to try to find a new version of myself. I think that's one similarity that you have, right?
Yeah, I needed to start over because my old life had kind of ended, and I wanted to change. Yeah.
So this gets to a really interesting story about Los Angeles that I wanted to say here. I was also told my stories were too long, so I'm going to try to.
Just so everyone knows, no one told Brian any of this. He told himself all of this.
So the story of the founding of Hollywood, are you familiar with this?
No.
Okay. So it's not like a real, like you wouldn't find this in a museum.
Wait, let me guess. Jews.
Oh, we've got to delete that. We cannot. We love the Jews on this podcast. We do. My favorite people in the world are Jewish.
Me too.
Yeah, I love Jewish people.
Oh my God, he's getting nervous now. It's a joke, everybody.
Well,
I'll delete it if you want.
No. We can keep this in because I think this might be funny. But we
Yeah.
we
No,
want to say,
friend.
I'd love for the Jews to sponsor, just the Jews to sponsor this. Like, this podcast is sponsored by the Jews.
You know, it's funny. My friend Adam Fink, who's Jewish, he's always making fun of each other because I'm Armenian and he's Jewish. He came to my birthday thing and he asked everyone, "Who do you guys prefer, Armenians or Jews?" And everyone's like answering, and I realized, like, I think I would choose Jews.
Yeah,
like they're just, they're killing it out there.
I would definitely choose Jews over you. Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah. Shout out to Adam Fink,
great comedian. So the story of of inventing Hollywood. So Thomas Edison.
Yes,
you're familiar with him.
He was on How I Met Your Mother.
Right. Yes. Let's look his IMDb. Actually, though, so a lot of people know him for his work with the light bulb. Inventing the light bulb is what he's credited for. But actually, in his lifetime, was way more famous for being a filmmaker.
Oh.
He made over 1,000 films in his life. Did you know this, Chris?
Wait, I think I did know this.
Yeah. He developed a ton of patents of films.
Okay.
And of camera equipment and lighting equipment and stuff like that. And he was a filmmaker primarily in New York. And other filmmakers were using his cameras and using his patents and stuff. And he kept suing them.
Oh.
And they got really frustrated with Edison.
I have a question about this, but I can wait till the end.
Okay. Well, why don't you ask it now?
Was Edison like kind of taking ideas from other people too, though? And
yeah, of course. I mean, this is the whole thing about
some people
the light
say
bulb.
he was like stealing ideas.
Yeah,
from people, right?
He's like the sort of prevailing theory now of Edison is that he stole the idea of the light bulb and harnessing electricity from Nikola Tesla.
Right.
But specifically as it relates to the film stuff, he was suing all of these filmmakers, and so they just said fuck it and left New York and came out here to make films. And because of that, Hollywood was born, and then kind of LA was born out of the film industry here.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So it's kind of this interesting metaphor, though, I think, in terms of reinventing yourself, right?
Oh, true.
And kind of finding a new road and, coming out west. Trailblazing comes from the old pioneering days, Lewis and Clark, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. No, that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
So basically, that's interesting. So like, it's almost like the city was founded on reinventing yourself.
Exactly.
I mean, you could take it even further and just like look at like settlers coming in and founding it in the first place.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that makes sense. It's funny thinking about the comparison of back then compared to people who reinvent themselves now. You know what I mean?
like people who go to Erewhon and are like, this smoothie has reinvigorated me. It's reinvented me.
Yeah.
Because these people were being sued by Thomas Edison.
Right. Yeah.
That caused me to practice music in the streets.
What was that? I was gonna ask other questions about LA.
Yeah. I've got some.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting because I came out here for rehab, and then 6 months. My stay in rehab / sober living was about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided to stay here permanently. So then when I officially kind of announced I was moving, I think there were a lot of conceptions about, oh my God, you're moving to LA. It must be like this. It must be like this. So what I want to do here kind of up top is talk a little bit about, okay, what are the conceptions about LA that we think exist, that we think are true, and what are the ones that we think are not true?
Okay.
So do you have any that come to the top of your mind?
There's a couple. One, just I'll mention two quickly. One is that LA is like fake.
Mm-hmm.
And another one is like, people always say, there's all these fucked up people in Hollywood, like in the industry. Like, there's everyone's sick in the industry. Those are two that come to mind. Should we discuss either of those?
Yeah.
Well, as far as like the entertainment industry having a lot of like people that are sick in different ways, whether it be drugs or sexual deviance or whatever the hell it is. I think that those people, that's true of any industry.
100%.
Yeah, and I just think it's on display in movies and with people that are famous or involved with Hollywood.
Yeah.
So you see it, but like if you looked at any other industry, there's going to be people that have addictions or that are sick people. Like people are just people.
I think that's a great point. I was actually going to say that is the difference in Hollywood and in the entertainment industry is the camera and the spotlight is literally on you here.
Yeah.
Right? You know, that phrase is used metaphorically, but in LA it's literal. You know, it's actually kind of hard to walk around the city without accidentally running into someone filming you. Have you noticed this?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I feel like every time I'm walking down the street, someone's doing whether it's someone live streaming an Instagram thing.
Yeah.
I've accidentally walked onto sets before.
Yeah.
You know,
the robot things are driving around. They have cameras on them.
What are those things called? It's not Waymo. Waymo are the self-driving cars, which is also a crazy thing that doesn't exist in other cities, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Coco robots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those in other cities?
Maybe.
It's weird. I'm so used to this stuff that I forget it's
Right.
not in other places.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind because, yeah, I don't know. It's just movies I grew up watching is now reality. Like The Truman Show was like, that was like scary when that came. That's one of my favorite movies. Have you seen that?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite movies. And all the warnings of movies like that are out the window. Now everyone lives in the Truman. Everyone is Truman now.
That movie's always kind of frustrated me. I want to do let's do this.
Okay.
Like this little tangent on the Truman Show, because if there is a city that would be the Truman Show, it probably would be LA.
Yes.
The thing that always frustrated me about this movie, I want to get your opinion on this, is I actually feel like so I think it's got great world building ambiance. It's so memorable.
Uh-huh.
It's impossible to watch that movie and not think of it. But I feel like they could have pushed those characters in that movie a little bit more.
Okay.
I feel like I would have written Truman a little bit differently. I would have written his wife a little bit like I feel like the characters themselves are a little bit one note in that film. And maybe that's the point.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. The dialogue in that movie in particular has always frustrated me a little bit.
Interesting. Well, a lot of the characters, it would make sense if they're one note because they're pretending to be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends on which characters we mean. I didn't feel that way about the movie. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite Jim Carrey movie.
Okay,
yeah,
I guess I just wanted to shit on the Truman film.
Yeah, no, someone like a character like Laura Linney's character.
Yeah.
It would make sense that that's one note, kind of, because she's putting on an act. And,
right. I mean, she does kind of have that moment where she breaks down in the kitchen.
Yes.
Which is quite profound, and then they kind of ship her off and whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that there's just more depth that can be explored there. Like what happens in this film is instead of going deeper into character, it keeps going deeper and deeper into world building. And I guess maybe this is an aesthetic preference thing. I like it when movies like turn inwards as opposed to turning outwards. That's a movie that I feel like turns outwards.
Do you have an example of, like, for instance, the Truman character? What would you want them to get into with Truman? So
I think that his desire is established. He wants to get out. He wants to explore the world, whatever. And we get a lot of history with him. And it's inherently uncomplicated because of his life is set up to be uncomplicated.
Yeah, it's almost like he's like a grown-up child in some ways because he's lived this sheltered thing.
Right. But I think that I would have liked to have seen, like, explore his idea of what connection could be more. I think there are missed opportunities, and now you're putting me on the spot about this.
No, I was just
curious. I haven't seen the film in a little while, but I don't know. How about let's turn this to the crowd. So we'd like for you to do this. Is it fair? Can I ask them?
Go for it.
So we want to hear your thoughts about this debate about the Truman Show. Whether you think I'm being a pretentious asshole or whether you think Chris is missing something about this film.
I just think it's funny you want to make it's like a dark remake of The Truman Show. You know what I
Well, it
mean?
is
Like
kind of a dark film already.
It is.
Yeah.
But you want it to be darker, I think. You want it to be like...
I want it to be more complex, I think. I think it
Okay.
comes across a little one note to me.
I can kind of see what you're saying. Yeah, it could be more... Like, if they made a sequel or something, they could dive deep
Yeah, maybe.
into what the things you're talking about.
Yeah.
The movie has like a cartoonish vibe to it,
Mhm.
but that's because it's this fake made-up world.
Yeah.
You know, I thought Ed Harris's character was very interesting.
Yeah. Extremely interesting.
And he played it so well.
He did.
Okay.
Let me say this. I like The Truman Show. I don't love it. I would not put it. I'd put it in my top 200 films of all time, but I don't know if I'd put it in my top 100.
What's your favorite Jim Carrey movie?
Man in the Moon,
Okay.
about Andy Kaufman.
That's great. Do you
Yeah.
like Eternal Sunshine?
I love Eternal Sunshine, and I love the other Kaufman,
The other-
not the Kaufman, Charlie Kaufman, who wrote Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless
Oh,
Mind.
okay. I see what you're saying.
Being John Malkovich or whatever.
Oh, yes.
Whereas Man in the Moon is Andy Kaufman.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Both are both of them Jewish? Or neither of
I
them
don't
Jewish?
know.
We love the Jews.
Yeah, this is a big...
But let's hold on. Hold on a second.
We are getting off track from
No, but that
LA.
was the point of this tangent. I love this tangent.
I wish we could talk about it more, but then it'll dominate the
Yeah, we could
podcast.
come up. But we'll find other ways to talk about the Truman Show, and I want to watch it between now and the next time we do the pod.
That would be cool. That movie amazes me because it predicted our future. Unknowingly, I think. I don't think.
Well,
it saw
surveillance
that,
and stuff, and the internet was around in the late '90s when.
But it's just funny that like at the time when that came out, the idea that your entire life would be broadcast for people to watch was horrifying. And now everyone's life is broadcast for everyone to be watched.
But people are doing it intentionally now, whereas that was a unintentional.
Right, but I think the general idea was like, why would I want people watching me do my stuff? You know what I mean? Like in the bathroom. Like there's literally people that make these dumbass Instagram reels of them. Here's my daily routine. You know the voice they use? I got up at 7 a.m. and I went to the coffee shop. You know what I'm talking about?
This is amazing.
I fucking hate those videos.
Chris, you and I have had, I don't know how many conversations. I've never heard you do that voice. That is amazing.
Well, that's the Instagram voice. It's like...
That's incredible.
Yeah, you know...
Please do that voice more.
Okay, maybe I'll try it a bit out on it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Holy... Guys, we discovered this. This is great. We got a character Chris is inhabiting. I love this.
Character, it's every like 25-year-old girl influencer. It's like...
Yeah.
I tried a new coffee shop and... What, you know that cadence they use? It drives
You've
me
nailed
nuts.
it. I know exactly what you're talking. I see it 100 times
God,
a day.
and it's just
it.
them getting out of bed and full. It's like, get a life, dude. Like no one cares that you brushed your teeth this morning.
Oh, I'm in like shock and awe right now. This is great. Okay, so but hold on though, because what I wanted to talk about here was theories of Los Angeles that are true and false. So we've gone through one so far. One is
it's
that
probably half over.
One is that we feel like yes, Los Angeles is full of some fucked up people, but not more so, and especially Hollywood, not more so than exists in any other industry. It's just easier to spot out because things are apparent. You find that true?
Yes.
Okay. So the other one that you mentioned is you think people in LA are fake.
Yeah.
I'll start off with this one here. So probably one of my favorite quotes about the difference between LA and New York. I've lived in both cities, LA and New York. My favorite quote about the difference between LA and New York is that people in New York are not nice, but they're kind.
Yes.
People in Los Angeles are nice, but they're not kind.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I've heard that quote before.
Okay.
It's 100% true.
Yeah. What does it mean to you?
I guess I think it does prove that LA is fake. My only argument with that though is that like people are fake everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think there's more so of a thing here of what you talked about. Like people here will have a smile on their face as they fuck you out of something or something. Yeah, in New York people always do that comparison of like if your car broke down. You've heard that one?
No, talked about this.
Like if your car broke down and in the East Coast, someone would pull over like, "What are you, a fucking retard, dude?" Like,
Right.
this is Boston or something. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't change your tires? They'll make fun of you, but then they'll help you change your tire. Like in LA, if someone sees you on the side of the road, there's like, "Oh, look at that guy," and they just keep driving. They're not going to help you.
Or oh, that's so sad.
Or that's right.
That's so sad, and then they'll drive by. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah. They're
like, people in LA act like they care so much about like they're so conscientious. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's a very liberal city. Everyone acts like they care about all these social issues, but while they're stepping over half dead homeless people,
right.
Like, it's just, there's a level of disconnect for sure.
My theory about this, because I think you are touching on this, is like, you could be talking to someone in LA, a total stranger, and you have no idea whether they're an executive producer at Netflix or a homeless person. And there'd be no way to tell by the way they talked, by the way they acted, by the way they dressed, whether that's who you're talking to. So as a result, it creates this inherent, like, hey, play nice with this person, but also don't give in to them because they could also be the homeless person. Don't trust them.
Yeah.
And it's because it's so interesting too, because all right, so one conception about LA that I think is totally true is it is overrun by homeless people.
Oh, 100%. And I can't believe people try to pretend it's not.
Yeah.
I've had people argue with me about that. I have a joke where I it's a joke where I say LA is a war zone.
Yeah.
And my friend's like, "That's crazy. It's not a war zone. That's absurd." It's like, he's like, he literally said to me, "I'm in Beverly Hills every day." It's yeah, in Beverly Hills, it's not a war zone. Have you seen everywhere else?
Right.
Like, it's just, I don't know. There's this level of disconnect, and I don't know what it is. It's like not wanting to admit a problem exists.
Sure.
Because I think it's a political thing, personally.
Yeah.
Because your side is the people that are in control. So if you admit that this horrendous problem exists, you're criticizing your ideology.
Right. So
you have to pretend it doesn't. It's crazy. And this is a whole other, maybe we'll do another episode at some point about ideology.
Sure.
But I think ideology is a huge, everyone's an ideologue now, I feel like, and that's a huge problem. And that's another thing I want to talk about LA as it pertains to comedy. But
let's get there. Let's get there. But because I think there's actually, you've inspired this point. Like, all right, so it's overrun by homeless people. It is crazy expensive here. It's insanely expensive.
It is, yeah.
You can't, gas, food, everything's insanely expensive.
And again, this is another thing that I've seen people defend.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want to admit there's a problem. They're like, "Well, yeah, it's expensive, but we have the best of it. You pay for what you get," or whatever.
Right.
Like, it's like, that doesn't. It's just crazy.
It's
like this elitist mindset.
It's also, and you were just complaining about this. Traffic's a nightmare, and it's a nightmare. Like, you think traffic in your city is bad. You think traffic in Chicago is bad, or New York is bad, or Atlanta, or Boston, or Dallas. You have no idea.
I know what you mean, but I actually do think traffic in Boston is bad where I grew up. It's different than here, but I don't know if it's better. It's better in ways, but it's worse in other ways.
I think traffic is bad here because this city is full of a lot of drivers and the worst drivers.
Yeah, the drivers here are totally insane.
It makes no sense. So
it's like they want to die.
Right.
That's how people drive. It's real,
yeah.
You know? That's how people drive. No regard for their life or anyone else's. Like,
all right, so we've now cataloged a list, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are a whole list, and yet I feel, maybe you feel this way too, I feel like it is the most beautiful city I've ever lived in.
It is in some ways, yeah. That's the funny dichotomy about LA is that it is beautiful and amazing in a lot of ways, but it's also hell on earth. It's this weird, it's so weird.
Eden and Gomorrah.
You go to Santa Monica, it's like heaven.
Yeah.
We're in Santa Monica right now. But yeah, by the pier or whatever. But you don't even have to go there. There's tons of beauty in LA.
You can go out to any part of LA. This is my one of my theories about LA. You can go to any part of LA on like a Tuesday afternoon, and it is 75 degrees, and we're in like January, by the way. You can do this, and you can step outside into a public park, and whether you're looking at the beach or the hills or just out at the city downtown, and you're like, oh my God, this is one of the most beautiful views of anywhere in the world right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why I've told you this before, but I'm never leaving.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know you wanted to be here forever.
I will die in Los Angeles.
Well, please don't die. But
in 200 years.
Okay, 200.
Chris.
All right, I'll be long dead so you can die. But that actually is another question I was going to ask that you kind of just answered, which is that do you feel that LA, because people act like LA is a crazy place, and I've actually heard Steve Martin talk about it and defend and be like, no, it's like a normal place where you can like raise a family
right.
and have a life. Like, have you seen LA Story?
No.
It's a Steve Martin movie.
Okay.
It's kind of about Los Angeles. You'd like it.
Okay. I'll check it out. I love Steve Martin.
Yeah.
We love Steve Martin. We love the juice.
He's not Jewish, is he?
No, but just separate point.
Okay. Yeah, so that was another question. Like, do you feel like LA is a place that you can like have a life, a normal life, and not be just surrounded by homeless people? And like, do you feel like there's a normal community in Los Angeles? Yeah, like, is it a place where
now you're begging the philosophical question of like, what is Los Angeles? So like Pasadena.
Yeah.
You can absolutely have a normal life in Pasadena. Pasadena is more normal than whatever city you're watching this from, by the way. Unless you're watching it in Pasadena. But Pasadena is small town USA. And it's a 20-minute drive from the Chinese Theater.
From beautiful downtown Los Angeles, which looks like Escape from New York.
God, there's so much I want to say that's related to the John Mulaney show, Everybody's in LA. Did you see that?
I did not.
Okay. It's fantastic. It's a 6-episode series on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Probably my favorite thing he said about LA.
It's not a stand-up thing. It's just, okay.
No, but he interviews a lot of stand-ups in it.
Maybe I'll
Jerry
check it out.
Seinfeld is on it. Jon Stewart's on it. Stavros, like a bunch of stand-up comics are on it.
Oh, that's cool.
One of my favorite things he said about Los Angeles is downtown Los Angeles is New York from the 70s.
That's spot on.
Yeah.
Now I wasn't around, but it feels worse than New York in the 70s.
Like if you've seen Taxi Driver, if you want to go see Taxi Driver in real life, go to downtown Los Angeles.
It honestly seems even worse than that. It's an
it's better weather. People don't freeze to death there.
It's an apt comparison. To me, it looks like Escape from New York. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. It's a great movie. John Carpenter, Kurt Russell. It's a dystopian sci-fi movie. So New York has just been is a prison.
Sure.
They use it as a prison now, and it's just homeless and crazy people everywhere.
So all right.
We haven't discussed comedy at all yet.
Okay.
So
there you're good. Speaking of hellscapes,
I'm just scared that we're not going to get.
We will get there. We're getting there right now.
I love comedy so much, guys.
And that's where.
No, I'm just kidding. No, what were you going to say before that?
No. Let's go to comedy. Fuck what I was going to say before that.
I want to know.
We'll get there. But you mentioned hellscapes.
Yeah.
You mentioned Escape from New York. You mentioned all these terrible things. Let's talk about the open mic comedy scene in 2025 in Los Angeles.
Okay. Or it doesn't have to be open mic. It can be shows. It can be anywhere.
Okay. I was kind of making a joke there.
Oh, sorry.
You didn't laugh.
I didn't know. I don't want these
Chris,
people.
You didn't find it funny.
I don't want these people to know we do open mic. We're professional comedians, guys. Okay. I've performed to at least 10 people this month.
That's true. So I think it might be helpful because, again, Chris and I are trying not to make a comedy podcast here.
That's true.
And we're trying not to only appeal to to our friends, although we appreciate all of you who are listening too.
Mainly Nick DeVossola, but no, we love all of you.
Okay.
Nick is a friend of ours that we're obsessed with.
Nick is my best friend, but
yes.
in comedy for sure, but we're doing this for people more than Nick Dervasla.
Dude, we're not going to do an episode where he's not mentioned. This is getting bad.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
This is bad.
We got to mention him every
He'll
episode.
be on an episode.
He will be.
All right. So,
but I think it might be helpful for you and I to talk about what this world is.
The comedy scene?
Just for like a minute.
Yeah.
Like what's going on here? Because a lot of people...
What's going on here is what you said. Reinventing yourself. That's what a lot of people come here to do. And I think a lot of people in comedy do that.
Sure.
Are trying to do that.
I meant like logistically though.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of people don't understand if you want to be a stand-up comedian, what does that even mean? What do you do to do that?
There's different ways to do it, but the way it works in LA is, I think, although everyone does it different here too, there's open, people go to open mics.
What is an open mic?
Well, there's different ones. They can be ones at clubs or at bars. There's a big thing here in LA is slotted open mics where you just sign up and pay $5 to do 5 minutes. And that's a lot of what we do, I think.
Yeah.
And you're only performing to other comedians, which is not good.
But we take this for granted. Like, this concept shocks people when they hear that we, as stand-up comics, pay to do comedy.
Yeah.
To do open mics. And it's the majority of what we do.
That is true. Now, both of us have also been paid to do comedy.
Sure.
You produce shows. We've been on shows where we get paid.
That's true, yeah.
So we do both, but I'm trying to pump us up.
No. I've been paid tens of dollars to do stand-up comedy.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's not. But what I'm saying is, if you want to start off in LA doing stand-up comedy, what you do is you pay.
Yeah.
To do that, and
then it's not a lot. It's $5 for 5 minutes.
But if you want to get good, you've got to be doing that all the time.
Yeah. You should. If you're just starting, you should be going every day.
Right.
Yeah, if you're just starting, you should be going to a mic every day. Now, there are some mics where you don't have to pay.
Sure. There are some free mics.
Yeah, there's some free mics, some bar mics. But the slotted ones are where you can meet other comedians, build a community. It's a more controlled environment to work on your comedy. Because you're not dealing with a bar with screaming people or whatever.
Sure. My understanding is the way other cities work is just take a random city in the middle of the country. That city will have 1, 2, maybe 3 stand-up clubs.
Yeah.
And that's where you go to perform. And it's a smaller community, so it's easier to get up on stage at those places. And not only that, but you're always performing in front of real audience members. Because if you live in a small town in America, it's a Friday night, you want to go to a comedy show, well, there are 1, 2, again, maybe 3 places to go.
Yeah. I was in Cincinnati, and I saw a little bit of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There was a local show after the show we did, and I saw kind of that. There were local comics, and there was a real audience.
Yeah. So the way that works in LA, though, is different. Because I started comedy in LA. I'd never done comedy outside of LA, really. I did one little show in New York once, and it was in a warehouse in New York at 2 a.m. in Brooklyn.
That's funny. I did this the first time I did it was in New York too, just at a shitty open mic.
But it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't really even a thing. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I came to LA. I did stand-up comedy. Mostly, I did stand-up comedy because Nick Dervasla needed a ride to an open mic. And so I gave him a ride, and I signed up for this open mic. And I wore this leather jacket on stage.
Oh.
And he said, never do that again. But then the second open mic I did, Chris, I got booked on a show.
Look at you.
Well,
big time over here.
Yeah, that's right. I thought that. I thought, oh my God, this is the biggest deal ever. I didn't even know really what it meant to get booked on a show. And then the producer of that show said, hey, it's like a 3-person bringer.
Oh, God.
And I was like, it was like an alien. I had no idea what that meant. And
was the producer Nick?
It was not Nick. It was not Nick. But you know what? That was really cool, though, that it wasn't Nick. Because it very easily could have been. And I think that would have changed the way I felt about comedy, because I think that I would have felt he was doing me a favor. Because you remember when I started off, I was not very good.
No one is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not trying to say I'm great now, but I've gotten better.
No, you are good.
Well,
you are good.
I mean, I appreciate you saying that, but
and yeah, you've gotten. It's a totally different person.
it takes a while to get good, though, and not even to get good, but even just to get okay, it takes a while.
Yeah, I think so.
But let's go back to Bringers for a second, because this is a big part of the LA stand-up community. It is probably, I think, the single most divisive issue about LA stand-up comedy, and one of the most unique issues to stand-up comedy in LA. Because what a bringer is basically, if you want to perform at a show, at a club, and this one thing that differentiates LA from a bunch of places is that there are a ton of clubs in LA. There are clubs in LA that do stand-up comedy that Chris and I have never been to and don't even know about.
Yeah.
But what all of these clubs require is that if you want to perform at a show, you bring 3 people or 5 people or however many people with you, and they pay for tickets, and that's your audience that you provide. And so if you have like 8 comics on a lineup, you're guaranteed at least 24, 30 people in the crowd because of this bringer system.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't make sense in other cities because the audience is there to see comedy because you're at one of the only places where comedy can exist. But in LA, there are so many comedy clubs, and there are only a couple of them that can consistently get people, like real people.
Yeah.
Is that a fair summary of the bringer system in LA comedy and stuff like that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
What are your thoughts about what I just said?
It's not great. I don't know. I feel like I'm being too negative on this podcast about comedy, about this comedy scene or something.
So then,
I like the comedy scene.
Yeah, so then make it positive.
Well, it's great that we have so many opportunities to perform. It's great that we have a controlled environment like a slotted mic to work on our stuff. But it's the same as everything. There's upsides and downsides, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got a lot of opportunities. You got controlled environments. You got things you can sign up for. You can do bringer shows. You don't have to do them. There's other shows. I don't know. Everything has a downside and an upside. I don't do bringer shows. I haven't done one in a year. The only one I did was your show.
Yeah, I was going to say that's false. You did one 2 weeks ago.
Well, I did your show, but that's because we're like very close friends and you asked me to do it. If anyone else asked me to do a bringer show, I would say no.
And by the way, just for those of you listening at home being like, what do you mean by this? I asked Chris to bring 4 people with him to the legendary Hotel Cafe where I produce a show, where hundreds of stand-up comics have performed comedy, and some big names too. Chappelle was there for like a week one time. He did like almost like a mini residency there. Mm-hmm. I asked Chris to bring 4 people to the show, and like 12 people like would have come for him in a microsecond. Really, what I want to say about all of this, because we're contextualizing this conversation to LA, is I feel like the bringer thing is like kind of a uniquely LA issue.
I don't know if they do it in others. I don't think they do, actually. You're right. Oh, I just realized you're right. Someone was telling me, I think you were part of the conversation, that someone had a show in Philly and someone tried to make it a bringer and they were mad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we won't say names.
Yeah, we won't say names on that.
But yeah, I think you're right. In other cities, they don't do that. In other cities, I don't think they have slotted open mics.
Right.
So yeah, all of this is very specific, I think, to LA comedy. Yeah.
And that's because there's a saturation of clubs in LA.
Yeah.
Now, my amendment to that is I actually feel like, so if there are 3 tiers of clubs generally, so tier 1 would be like the top tier big corporate clubs. That would be Comedy Store, Laugh Factory, Improv, Ice House would be the 4 here in LA.
Yeah.
Then you have the bottom tier of clubs. And I don't even want to say bottom tier, but because I think they're great. And the places I'm about to name are really great. The amateur clubs. So Fourth Wall Cafe and Fourth Wall NoHo. You and I are both big fans of those places. The Hollywood Comedy is a great amateur club. Flashback in Van Nuys, fantastic amateur club, right? Those sort of those sort of clubs are great too. There's a lack though of stepping stone clubs. There's a lack of that second tier.
There is, yeah. No one's coming for you. No one's helping you. Right. No one's developing anyone.
Right.
It's all on you. It's all social media.
Yeah.
It's all, you have to figure it all out. There are mid-tier clubs like the Haha.
That's an example of a club that should be doing that.
Yeah, it's like a mid-tier club. They should be developing. I think that the big clubs should be more in the business of developing.
Yeah, it's just tough because like on any given night there are going to be 100 tourists who are there to see.
Yeah, so whatever. Forget the big clubs. There should at least be the mid-tier clubs like the Haha. What are some other ones that are
there might be
developing?
one.
Yes.
Debuting in March.
Okay.
I won't get too much into it on here.
Okay.
But there is a rumor that one is going to open March 1st. That's the idea is to be that kind of a club.
Well, that's awesome, and I hope it is. I think it will be that.
Yeah.
But
there needs to be more.
The thing with the Haha though is that they're established and they have certain connections, and some named comedians do come in there, and I think they have more of an ability to really develop someone. The club that may be opening in March, right now is more of like a fourth wall Hollywood comedy, but that's only because it's just starting.
Right.
I think it will get bigger. And
the idea of that club that is opening in March is that it will be that middle tier club.
I believe it will get there.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
That's the idea behind the genesis of it, not to say too much. But listen, we've got to start wrapping things up here a little bit.
Shit, we didn't talk about one thing that I really wanted to talk about.
We can talk about it quickly.
All right. Here's the thing with LA comedy that I wanted to talk about. A lot of people say that comedy in LA sucks.
Yeah.
That it sucks doing comedy in LA. The audiences suck.
Yeah.
And blah blah blah. And in a lot of ways, I can see what they're talking about. You know, I've toured other places, and the audiences are different.
Yeah.
So I guess I wanted to talk to you about and get your opinion. Do you think that LA audiences are not enthused, overly sensitive, and get offended, and they're too woke or whatever you want to call it? Or do you feel like you just have to be a better comic? Like, you know, people make fun of comics who move to Austin. It's like, oh, that hack moved to Austin because he couldn't make it here. Now, do you think that that's true, that you just have to be better? Or do you think there's truth that LA audiences suck in many ways?
So
I think, real quick, just for me, I think both things are true. I think you should be trying to be a better comic, but I also think LA audiences there are issues with LA audiences.
I think it totally depends on the room.
Okay.
You can go to a comedy show in Orange County or Pasadena.
Well, Orange County is a whole different.
Well, but it's not. I mean, this is again the question: what is LA?
That's true. Okay.
But even all right, let's keep it even.
Hollywood. Do you want to say Hollywood?
Yeah, let's keep it even in here. You can go to a comedy show in Santa Monica and find an older crowd, a more conservative crowd. You can go to a comedy show in West Hollywood. You can even go to because places like the Comedy Store, the Improv, and the Factory, because the audience is largely tourist based and visitor based as opposed to locals. On any given night, especially a Friday or Saturday night, you can get a crowd there that's like Midwestern.
Okay.
That's here to LA to take the family Christmas photo or whatever, you know? So it totally depends on the room. At the same time, yeah. Look, this is a city of 8 million people. Most of those people, according to census data, which we might believe, we might not, are liberal.
Yeah.
And not just liberal, but politically, but liberal socially, and also really, really desperate to prove how liberal they are.
Yes. And this is part of what I was talking about earlier, where I feel like ideology has taken a hold of people so hard now.
Yeah.
And this is true on all sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But it's a real issue because when people say you can't say things anymore, you can't joke about, that's what they're talking about.
Right.
They don't mean literally I can't say this or I'll get put in jail or something.
Yeah.
They mean like people are so consumed with their ideologies, political, social ideologies, that they're incapable of seeing nuance or understanding a joke sometimes, not just looking at the surface level and really, you know what I mean? Like people really have fallen into like a cult-like thinking when it comes to a lot of these issues. And I think that does affect their response to comedy.
Yeah.
But they're also oversaturated. There's so many people, so much comedy, so much entertainment. People in LA, like I went to the Midwest and did shows. They were having a blast.
Sure.
It's not every day that they're at something like that.
There is this sense, and actually, okay, wow, we've come full circle on this, actually, what I'm about to say here. There's this sense that somehow, if you're in the audience, you're a part of the show in LA, and that the camera's actually on you.
Yeah.
And so people are like, if I laugh at this joke,
yes, yeah,
then somehow that makes me a bad person, or it's against my politics or whatever.
That's the ideology.
You are in the Truman Show, to use that metaphor from earlier, if you're in the audience somehow. And that's I don't know if I would have come to this conclusion. Chris, you've done it now 2 for 2 episodes with me. I don't know if I would have come to this conclusion without this conversation. That's interesting. That the audience members in LA, and that's why crowd work works really well in LA, actually. Mm-hmm. Like, I've got a ton of great crowd work clips here, one I'm about to post on my Instagram, by the way, because the audience wants to be involved in LA. And I feel like maybe, and I've never performed in other cities, right? But maybe in other cities, they're just there to kind of listen.
Well, they got involved in other cities, maybe for different reasons, though. I think they got involved in other cities because they don't go to a lot of shows, and they think they're like watching Netflix.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So they're like shouting out or something. you know what I mean?
Okay, that's very funny.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So, yeah, maybe different reasons people get involved. But that's why people turn down lights in a comedy club. Playing to a lit room is terrible.
Right.
People don't. If it's dark, people feel more comfortable to laugh and let loose. If you can see, then yeah, they're concerned about that. Should we wrap this up and get to the popcorn question?
Yeah. But hold on, before we do that, we like to end each episode with, what is this theory? Because we've talked about LA for the better part of an hour. We need to come up with the idea of what is our theory of Los Angeles.
Should we do that now or after the questions?
Oh, I kind of feel like the popcorn questions are a little goofier, but if you want to do the popcorn questions,
let's do that and then do the theory.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to enter a very special segment of the podcast. I've written down some very short questions.
I didn't write any of these, but you can answer them too, though.
Yeah, that was the idea.
All right.
Yeah, look, I said you should talk more, not that I shouldn't talk at all, is what I meant here. But these are just some popcorn-style questions about LA. And just answer them 1-2-word answers. Don't even think too hard about them.
Oh, man. All right.
So,
I overthink everything, but okay.
What is your favorite place in LA?
Well, I told you Fourth Wall Cafe was my favorite place. That can't be my favorite place in LA.
It might be, though.
I think it is,
okay.
Dude.
All right.
Because
you got to go with it.
Do you want me to say why or just move on?
Yeah, no, you say quickly.
It gave literally I might not be even here anymore if it was Joe, who runs the club. I feel like he saved my life in some ways. Like, it was a place where I could go and felt like I was accepted and people understood my comedy and me as a person, and met a lot of people I related to, and they're the sweetest people in the world. They're very accepting of different people, which is funny because it has this reputation of being this toxic place. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Which is so not true and so distorted.
Yeah.
Like, before I went to Fourth Wall, I would hear rumors like, oh my God, they're crazy over there. Don't go over there. It's like, they're nuts. Like, I got all these warnings about how it was this like dangerous place.
Yeah.
And then you go there and it's like the sweetest people ever.
Sure.
So it's just, anyway.
I know. I want to say I like Fourth Wall. I've always had a great time there. And
yeah.
I've always been treated well there. My favorite place in LA is actually, this is going to sound a little bit hokey, but I've got a lot of sentimental value to it, is the Santa Monica Pier.
Oh, it's
sounds
so
touristy.
awesome. No, I love it.
Sounds hokey, but
It's so awesome.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. Like especially sunset over the mountains and stuff. You feel like you're literally in heaven.
I know.
Over there. It's
the Ferris
unbelievable.
wheel. By the way, fun fact about that Ferris wheel: it's the only solar-powered Ferris wheel in the world.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, very interesting.
Man.
All right, moving on. Least favorite place in Los Angeles.
Oh my God! Least favorite place in Los Angeles. Drunk New Jokes.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
We're keeping that in.
Oh, okay. Aldous is gonna.
I'm not going to say anything, but we're going to keep that in.
Drunk New Jokes is a show our friend Aldous runs. Go check it out. It's fun if you're retarded. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, he's gonna hate me so much. I've bombed on it twice, so I have a.
What's actually your least favorite place in LA?
Man, my least favorite place in LA. I mean, comedy clubs or just any place.
Any place.
I mean, dude, downtown is a hellhole.
Yeah,
it's hell on earth. It's so I can't believe people allow that to exist and think it's okay.
My least favorite place in LA, and this is I think a total cop out, is the 405 at like 5 o'clock.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like the traffic there is a nightmare, and there's no like
it's insane.
But it's also like it's irrationally so. Like people just kind of start to slow down even if there's no need to, because they're like, shit, there should be traffic here. Why isn't there traffic here? We need to create traffic here.
I think that's the worst traffic I've ever experienced anywhere. 405 at that time.
Yeah.
It's almost dead stop.
Yeah.
It takes you eons to get anywhere. But here's the weird thing. It's kind of beautiful.
Why?
I don't know. It's just the environment is still beautiful around you. The sun's out. There's mountains.
Yeah.
At least up by the Getty or whatever.
No, right. Okay, so that part of the 405. I'm more mean like as you're heading east.
Oh. Okay.
If you are. Okay, but let's keep moving on. Favorite restaurant in LA?
I'm not a big restaurant guy. I eat mostly, I cook my own things, but there's an Armenian restaurant called Carousel that I like in Glendale.
Oh, yeah, I know that place.
Yeah, I like that place. I don't go to a lot of restaurants, so I'll just say that one.
So my favorite restaurant in LA actually burned down because of the fires, unfortunately.
Shit, man.
Moon Shadows in Malibu. If you're listening, Moon Shadows, please rebuild.
Man, that's sad.
It was so great. I had so many great times. But you know what is actually kind of nice about this is there was a point where I was going there so often, I'm like, I'm going here too much.
Oh.
You know? Yeah. And I'm glad I went there as many times as I did.
What kind of food was it?
It was just really, upscale American cuisine, basically. But a lot of great seafood there. The best creme brulee I've ever had in my life.
What is that? A dessert?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a...
See, this is what I mean.
It's like a custard-based fruit dessert with a caramelized sugaring top.
See, you know about this stuff. I don't know what I'm talking about, but that sounds really good.
It's delicious. My other favorite restaurant in LA, I actually don't know if it burned down. I'm hoping it didn't. Cafe on 27. It's at the top of a mountain in Topanga. You know Topanga?
I don't know if I've been there.
It's beautiful. It's in the mountains.
Okay.
I'm hoping it didn't burn down.
Okay.
But if it did, please rebuild as well.
I thought your favorite restaurant was Jack in the Box. Come on, Brian.
Oh, okay. Yes, we need to edit all that out. Yeah. Jack in the Box. We love Jack in the Box. Okay. Favorite LA-based movie?
Oh my God, dude. There's so many. I don't know how to choose. There's so many good ones.
You gotta choose one. It's popcorn.
Do you have one? I feel like I know what you're gonna say.
What am I gonna say?
Actually, I don't know. I'm just gonna let you say.
No. Say.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna regret what I say because I'm gonna be like, oh, I forgot about that one, or I forgot.
We'll
about
just
that
drop
one.
it in the comments. Say, actually, I meant this.
The first one. I'll just do the first one that came to mind.
Okay.
Which is Heat.
Oh. Classic.
Yeah.
Classic movie.
Heat is an amazing movie. That's just the first that came to mind. I love so many based here. I also would like to know I don't know why, but I want to know your favorite one based in New York too. But
okay, my favorite LA based
and
movie.
Boston.
All right,
but do LA.
LA is gonna be Sunset Boulevard.
Okay.
Okay. New York would probably actually be Taxi Driver.
Okay.
And Boston, maybe The Departed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we got to keep going though, Chris.
Yeah.
Best LA celebrity interaction.
Like that I've had?
Yeah.
Meeting Victor Vosla. Man. It's really...
Stop.
Have I met a celebrity? I don't know if I've met one.
You've not met yeah, you work with one, kind of.
Yeah. Celebrity interaction. I don't know if I've met a celebrity. I seriously
That
don't
cannot
think
be true. You're the only person in LA who's not met a celebrity.
I can't think of one.
Not one?
No.
Not even in passing, like, oh, I saw this guy on the street?
I saw David Spade on the... Oh, this is a funny one. I saw David Spade on the street.
Yeah.
And I was like, turn around and I'm like, hey man, you're hilarious. And he goes, thanks, dude. And then I turn back around and immediately trip and fall on the sidewalk. It was so embarrassing.
Okay, that's a
dude.
great story.
Okay, yeah,
that's
there
fantastic.
There you go. There's a celebrity.
I think my...
Because he was like, oh, thanks, dude. And then I just fell. It was so bad.
You just, like, did a character.
Yeah.
My favorite interaction with the celebrities, I had a long conversation with Tim Robinson at a bar. And
Tim
he
Robbins.
is the star of I Think You Should Leave, and he was on SNL for a while, and he also star of a show called Detroiters.
Oh, do I know him?
I don't know.
What's he look like?
He's kind of he's white.
I don't know why I don't know this person.
Yeah. He's
Okay.
great. And then I had breakfast once next to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Whoa, that's crazy.
That was cool. Now, I didn't actually talk with him. Tim was very nice. I had a long conversation with him. But
That's so cool.
Arnold, the governor of California, former.
That's amazing.
Maybe future, too. Okay, favorite place to perform in LA?
I like the original room at the Comedy Store.
I was about to say that. Yeah, either the original room of the Comedy Store or the California room of the Ice House.
That room is so awesome.
Yeah.
But I've never done a show there.
Oh.
It's so weird.
I got to get you on.
I know, it's so weird.
One piece of advice you would give someone moving to LA?
Have your finances in order.
Yeah.
You need to, you can't just come here on a whim. Like, it's very hard to get settled and find a job and be a responsible person. And people that think that you can, like, get by without that are wrong, you know? Or maybe there's a way to do it, but it's going to be a total disaster. And whatever it is, you know, a lot of people come here to do their art or whatever. Your art's going to suffer. You can't, if you don't have your life together, the rest of your life's going to be a disaster. Like, you have to.
Yeah. I would also say, like, okay, so LA is very expensive, but there's also a ton of free stuff to do in LA.
Yeah.
Like,
I went to, like, the observatory the other day, and they had this whole thing with you could look at the planets. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And that was free.
This is my final theory about LA, is that it can actually be cheaper to live in LA than, like, in Des Moines, Iowa, or choose any sort. I don't mean to shit on Des Moines, but, like, any small town, because of the amount of free stuff there is to do here. You can go to the beach for free. You can go on a hike for free. You can go to museums and observatory for free. There's a lot. You can do, like, a full day where all you're really paying for is food, and then if you're going around, maybe gas. But you can also take LA's wonderful subway system or LA's fantastic bus system.
And food and gas, that'll only be like $500
Yeah,
for that
maybe
day.
$600 with tax. But you know, it's not like other cities where you have to pay for stuff. All right. So
is that it?
Now
we got to do the theory.
End the episode. What have you learned today? What is the theory of Los Angeles, Chris?
I don't know what the theory. Oh, okay. So the theory of Los Angeles, just from what I've gathered, is it's a real dichotomy. I think you know, there's beautiful things about it, and then there's horrific things about it. Like, it has the two extremes.
Right.
Maybe it's a city of extremes.
Yeah.
I think it is. And it's a great place. There are amazing things about it, and it's a great place to be if you do it intelligently. You have to be smart about it. You can't. It's easy to get sucked into bad things, it can ruin you in a lot of ways
Yeah.
if you let it. But if you're smart, I think it can be a very productive and cool place. Like, I don't know if I'll live here forever, but I do enjoy living here despite the downsides because there's so many beautiful things. So yeah, I think it's a city of extremes. It can be great if you do it right, and it can be terrible if you do it wrong.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think we've talked a little bit about reinventing yourself at the start of this, but I think actually, as we started talking, it made me think about this. Tell me what you think of this, that Los Angeles isn't about finding yourself. Los Angeles is about creating yourself.
Yeah, or like becoming yourself.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Like kind of.
Well, just sort of the idea.
Oh, okay. I think
is that a lot of people are like, oh, I need to find myself. I need to.
Okay.
But actually, what LA enables you to do is it gives you, whether it's from the natural beauty or Hollywood or slotted open mics, it gives you the ability to utilize these other things to create a new version of yourself.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, you can definitely do that here. There's so many examples of people who have done that. But do you feel like you're creating yourself, like as in like you're manufacturing this new thing, or do you feel like you're bringing out who you actually are? Like, which one do you feel like it is?
I think in LA, you are allowed and encouraged to do both.
That is true. Yeah. And you can do both, and maybe people do both. Maybe it depends on the person. What do you feel like you're doing? Do you feel like you're creating yourself or becoming yourself?
I hope I'm becoming myself.
I think you are becoming yourself.
I hope I am. But
Yeah.
at minimum, I know I'm creating myself.
Yeah. Maybe they go hand in hand because you kind of have to do some work to become yourself.
Sure.
So they might go hand in hand.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let us know in the comments what you think.
Yes.
What is Los Angeles about? What are your favorite places in Los Angeles? What do you think about the stand-up comedy scene in LA or in the city you're watching us in? As always, you can find Chris and I on Spotify or on YouTube. We are also on Instagram at The Theory of Nothing Podcast, where we'll be posting clips and our link and some photos and stuff like that. You can find me on my Instagram at Brian Wiora, where you can find all of my shows and upcoming announcements. Chris, where can they find you?
At Chris G. Keene.
Awesome.
On every platform.
And until next time, leave us a comment or email us at thetheoryofnothingpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. And let us know what you want to hear about, too. We're interested in hearing not just about your comments about previous episodes, but what you'd like to hear us talk about in future episodes. Anything else, Chris?
I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.